in our cities. It has now spread right across the country. In a moment, I'm going to be speaking to Niamh Randell, who is Head of Policy with the Simon Community. But first, our reporter, Aisling Reardon, went to see what the situation is currently with homelessness in Athlone.
An ordinary-looking house, but it's not what you'd quite expect on the inside. This is the emergency shelter the Midlands Simon Community runs just outside Athlone town.
We have 6 emergency beds here, 6 in Tullamore as well. And what they do is we've a culture of settlement in this service, right? So what we mean by that is that, okay, it provides a bed for the night, but our focus of our volunteers and staff is providing a home for life, right? So the moment that someone comes into this service, we know that we need to respond to their immediate needs of comfort, care and shelter, but we are also more focused on helping them to move from here into a home of their own. I suppose when people think of homelessness, they often think of the large urban areas, but unfortunately it is an issue here in the counties of Laois, Longford, Offaly and Westmeath as well. We are now working with over 100 people each day of the year.
Joan and Stephen have been in and out of homelessness. After spending time in temporary accommodation, they now live in apartments provided to them by Simon, along with a support system to help them manage.
I had mental health problems and I'd been in hospital for about 7 months, and I ended up coming out and my family didn't want me to live with them anymore, so I ended up living in a mental health hostel close by for 6 months, and the Simon Community contacted them and said if there was anyone there ready for independent living that they had these apartments going.
Having slept rough, Joan is delighted with her new apartment.
I was homeless in Barcelona for 4 months on my own, and it was awful dangerous. Like, I was attacked and everything, and I was begging for money for food, and in the end I ended up crying on the street, and the police came and I got put back into hospital in Spain, and they rang my parents and told them where I was and everything. It's a beautiful apartment and the rent is reasonable, and if you've anything wrong, any maintenance issues or anything, they'll look after it. And you have a key worker as well who comes in once a week and keeps an eye on you and keeps tracking you, and you might go for a coffee with her, or you chat for about an hour or whatever, and she takes notes. And volunteers, we also have volunteers who come in and see us once. Well, I have one volunteer, she comes once a week, and she's a lovely woman, and she's studied social care, and she just chats to me, and it's kind of like to keep you company and make sure that everything's going okay with you, just for company really.
Stephen is also from Athlone, and he never thought he would end up homeless.
Well, I was living at home. I was a carer for my mother, and my sister had just passed away. My mother passed away a few weeks later. I was left on my own. Things were a bit tough at the time. Ended up losing the house. Became homeless. Ended up into a bit bother with the law. Went to prison. Used all the rehabilitation that I could. Came back out. Was homeless, nowhere to go, 2 bags. What I do. So I went to an uncle, he put me up for a week or 2, and then I got word from Simon that they had a bed for me. So from there I was out there for a good few months, and just one of these apartments came available, so I took the chance and jumped at it.
So why the increase in the numbers becoming homeless in rural areas?
One of the main reasons, I think, is that there's cutbacks in other services that might have been able to maybe hold people together for a while. Now we are the last safety net. And I think that's one of the reasons. I think maybe if there's other services in the community are being cut, then I suppose the last safety net in society that's preventing from people being out on the street is the Midlands Simon Community.
Like many organisations, the Midlands Simon Community has seen its funding cut, and despite the region only getting 1.5% of state funding on homeless services, it received a 12.25% cut in the Department of Environment funding this year. The team says if the cut is not reversed, it will mean services will have to close or be radically reduced.
And that was Aisling Reardon reporting. Well, I'm joined now from Athlone by Niamh Randell, who is Head of Policy with the Simon Communities. Niamh, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me.
It is People do not realise, do they, that homelessness is right across the country. We very much think of it as something that affects Dublin and maybe Cork to some extent. Describe to me the true nature of it.
I suppose people automatically assume homelessness is in urban contexts, and they see it in terms of rough sleeping and visible homelessness. And they don't necessarily see that there's a lot of people maybe who aren't necessarily seeing hidden homelessness. So people who might be staying with friends and relatives, people sofa surfing, people in emergency accommodation, and a range of other things. So I think people miss that part of the picture.
And Niamh, during the recession, has the profile of those who are suffering from homelessness changed?
I think what we're seeing in our services all around the country is that the risk factors for homelessness are definitely on the increase. So what we deal with are people who are very vulnerable, and people who might have been living on the edge are being pushed over and pushed right into homelessness.
That's interesting. I mean, we heard Joan there in Aisling's report speaking about her mental health problems. You know, with services being cut right across the board, I would imagine that the underlying causes of homelessness are less easy to deal with now.
Yeah, I suppose one of the challenges that we have is that, as mentioned in the clip there, that there's cuts to other services, so drug and alcohol services, mental health services, general health services. And I suppose these all have a knock-on effect in terms of triggering homelessness and causing homelessness in the first place. But also what we know in the Simon communities is that the longer people remain homeless, the greater the impact in terms of their mental health, their physical health, their general health and well-being.
And Niamh, I mean, to deal with the problem of homelessness, is it as simple as saying we need to find apartments for these people? Or, you know, is there a much more kind of unified approach needed in terms of providing services for issues like addiction or mental health problems?
I think we're at a very exciting point in terms of responding to homelessness in Ireland. The recent homelessness policy statement endorses a housing first or housing led approach, which basically means that you immediately move people as quickly as you can into independent accommodation. But then the critical thing is providing that support in housing for people, which would mean dealing with mental health issues, drug and alcohol issues, budgeting, life skills, a range of other things. So it's a really critical opportunity at this point in time. So we know what works, we just need to be resourced to do it.
And the 2016 goal, do you think realistically that that is going to be hit?
We think it's absolutely achievable. We're very supportive of it. We were very supportive of this commitment when it was announced. However, what we think is needed now at this point in time is the political will. It needs a whole of government response. We need the full cabinet behind this. We need sufficient resources. And we also need a national roadmap or an action plan to outline how we're going to get there.
That isn't in existence, even though the 2016 goal has been set?
No, I'm afraid it actually isn't in existence at this point in time. And I suppose our real concern is the resource issue. As mentioned in the clip there are cuts to homeless services all around the country, and that's actually for 2013. They're only currently being announced, and I suppose we're very fearful about that. But also looking to budget 2014, we're saying please help us protect and maintain the budget. And this Simon Week we actually have a campaign called Home for Good. And the website is www.homeforgood.ie. We have a petition there, and we're asking people to come on board and to sign the petition to help us protect the homeless budget. To date, we've got nearly 5,000 signatures. We've had amazing support from all around the country, so we're asking people to continue to support us in this campaign.
OK, homeforgood.ie. And what else is going to be happening over Simon Week?
We've got a range of events and activities happening all around the country. Today in Athlone, there is a conference looking at housing first, particularly in the rural context. We have international speaker Sam Timberis over speaking at that, and I think there's something like 250 people attending that, so that's fantastic. We're also having an event in Dublin happening on Wednesday, which is called Home for Good, the name of our campaign, and we've got some other international speakers coming, and again looking at models that have worked very effectively in other countries to see what we can learn, what we can adapt and what we can introduce into Ireland.
OK, well, Niamh Randell, thank you very much indeed for joining us this morning from Athlone, and best of luck over Simon Week.
Thank you very much.
Now, and as Niamh said, a website providing information on Simon Week is homeforgood.ie. That's www.homeforgood.ie. Well, now to the first in a series of science fiction novels. It's called Conquest.